or meaningful insights. He was a good guy. Yeah, sometimes he was getting angry, but otherwise he was good. And 90% of the time he was cool guy. Doesn't make any sense. You are not hiring someone for being cool or angry actually. You are trying to see whether he can work under pressure or not. You need to understand whether he has got that static thought process or not. Right? So make your story, make your homework before you even make a reference check call. So next one is medical check. So again, it is based on the company policy and so on. But one good practice always is to have a medical check done for all the employees. And please ensure that in your offer letter, you are able to put in a clause saying that your offer letter is subject to successful completion of background, medical and all this. If anything fails, you have the right to withdraw your offer letter without getting into any liabilities. So next one is the background check. So we have already spoken about the reference check. Now we need to do the background check as well. What is the background check? Right. Any input from anyone?
Police verification.
Okay. What else?
Genuine information about the previous company's experiences.
Wonderful.
Yes. How many jobs he's changed over the years.
Sure.
Maybe qualification.
Sure. So all these encompass becomes a background check honestly. Whatever an associate or a candidate has claimed during the interview process have to be validated. Right? I said that okay, I'm an MBA, I'm also a BL. For the job that is given, probably BL might not be really applicable. I'm probably working more on the HR side, and there is a separate legal department in that company. It does not qualify that okay, whatever I would have given as a pay can be considered. It all amounts to integrity at the end of the day. When someone has evaluated me, they felt that remotely this HR guy should be having some basic legal knowledge, and hence probably they would have given me an offer. Right? And if I would have provided any incorrect information, the company will still have a right to withdraw my offer letter or terminate me. So you will have to save your backs when it comes to the wrong time. Right? Last but not the least, if everything goes well, you extend an offer. If you see this, there are four of them which are actually colored in blue. I'm sorry, the color changes here, but it actually reflects as blue here. Right? So all these boxes which are highlighted are the areas where all the line managers will have a lot of responsibility. The others could be done by others or partially supported or facilitated by the line managers, but they will be the major contributors to these four aspects. Okay. Any questions here or can I move forward?
So one question. Like when we said about reference check,
yes.
When we go back to the manager, they would have, if the person is not left on very amicable terms
yes.
or not completed a notice period and all, then the manager seems to always have a bias,
yes.
and we don't really get the real feedback.
Yes.
We may lose a very good talent because of the biases the people hold against people if we had tried to stop that person,
yes.
and still that person is left.
Sure.
So how do we cross
Yeah, I think
that?
that's a very good point. So one thing we can always do is do our level of diligence. Let's not get carried away with whatever the person whom we have contacted actually speaks about. So in this particular case, for example, based on your example, right? So you are saying that okay, someone has not served the notice period, okay, or have actually pushed the management to release him very soon and so on. You can make out two ways. Okay, one is you can actually look at the offer letter and then the relieving letter and also the resignation mail. The second point I said is at least do two reference checks, not one. If one person could be biased, but not both of them. Right? So there are chances that you are able to filter out such things. And probably the question that you should also ask is okay, when has he actually resigned? Okay, why did he resign? And why was he relieved so soon? You can be very honest, ask the same questions to both of the guys. All these standard questions you should ask to both of them. If there is a discrepancy, you should probably really validate that as part of your background verification.
I wanted to ask you one thing.
Sure.
I was reading about the use of artificial intelligence in the recruitment process.
Yeah.
Do you do it in your company and how is it done? I mean, slightly out of the context, but out of curiosity I'm asking you because you're like an IT company.
Yes.
Does it really work on the ground level when you're really hiring somebody?
So it might work to some extent, But like wherever there is a human connect which is required, it might not really work. At least that's something. So people have gone to like different models, honestly speaking. Okay, but not everything is working. Right? Artificial intelligence, if you look at Gartner report, you can just Google that. After going home, you will realize that AI is more of hype than actually reality. Right? AI is actually more of hype than reality. This is what Gartner says, not me. So there are still companies who are actually working on this one, to be honest. Even today in the afternoon, I got a call. Okay, but they were actually trying to build a solution on AI platform for technology related positions only. It does not still give a holistic one. Right? Yeah, I'm sure like in the probably next 3 to 5 years we should be able to see considerable progress there. There are already companies who have started using that, but at least like companies of my skill we have not started honestly. But that's how it's going to be in future for sure. At least like we would want to reduce whatever work we can from the human. Wherever it is necessary for a human intervention required, obviously this will happen. Can I move forward? Okay. So just a quick note on like what will be the cost of having a bad hire. You have recently replaced a person, right? This is what the US department says. So it would usually cost like the 30% of like the individual annual earnings. So there are a lot of calculators which are available. The only thing you need to do is have your numbers in hand and like download a calculator. You will get all the information. There is nothing I have created here, to be honest. I've just googled and like put that in the screen. So the cost of bad hire, this one is actually on an average basis, but this is not the one. For any IT company especially, it's a minimum of 6 months of a annual CTC, which is the cost of a bad hire, a minimum. Sometimes it could be even more. Right. So we have now discussed about the recruitment selection process. Right. Unless we evaluate the efficiency of that one, right? How can we be assured that we are doing the right process? So these are a few 3 or 4 points that I am giving, which would act as a checklist for you when you're going back and doing it for yourself. Probably you may want to just take this through this test. First one is the cost. So every activity, every position hiring, okay, will have a cost associated. So you have earmarked a cost for that. Have you actually overshot that one, or whether you were in control? Right. So the time. How much of time you have actually taken to fill that position? Sometimes for companies like ours, where like if there is a delay, I'm actually losing out on both the fronts. One is like the customer is not happy. Second one is I'm also losing on the billing aspect. Somewhere like if the technician is very critical, okay, without him probably like we are actually running the risk of like running the machine without having any backup. So next one is the quality. So a lot of times I keep hearing this from my managers. Okay, they say that okay, we are not very happy with the persons whom we have hired. We have compromised on so and so aspects and that we have done. We have been hearing that, and then we went ahead to open offices in Chennai, Bangalore, and Pune. At least at Infosys. We felt that okay, I cannot get everyone to Nagpur. Let us be honest. But whatever is available trained here locally, I would love to poach them. Last but not the least, longevity, right? So whenever we are hiring someone, as I was mentioning earlier, it should be for a long-term perspective. It should never be for a short-term perspective. And when I am saying this, it's only for the full-time employees, not the contractors. So contractors also, I'm sure like everyone, whoever is deploying, are able to select them through a proper process before you take them into the company. Right. So when it comes to the full-time employee, obviously like you are more committed for them. You have planned a lot of engagement plans, development plans, and so on. So you also expect the same thing from the other side. So this is something you will not be able to make out on the day the person joins you or the day you will roll out the offer. It actually becomes, the source would obviously be your back experience, like for the past 2 years or so. Sorry. So in terms of the cost or the time, one of the important aspects for all the SMBs could be you need to really assess like whether you would want to think on your own. or whether like you find an external party who can actually do a better job. You will have to assess that. You will have to assess that and go forward. Not every company will have a full-fledged HR function. Right? So you are the best guys to evaluate now at your level. Now that we have rolled out the offer letter, okay, we have a new employee joining us. How many of you would agree to this one? Agree? Right. As an employee, everyone expecting to join a new company would look forward to a very pleasant welcome, pleasant expectation. Okay, people give that special attention to us and so on. It's at the end of the day human tendency. There is nothing wrong in that one. If we as employees, new employees, expect the same thing from a prospective company, I believe that is the same experience we should also give to any new joinee who is joining our company or our team. It starts with HR, but it actually ends with the line managers. Because we just do the documentation and all that stuff, and then we hand over the resource to the line manager. If you do not give the right experience, then everything that you would have done in terms of interviews, selection, getting that guy, going overboard to extend an offer and get him on board and so on, everything goes for a toss. Right. So probably this is how I can simply put it as. So first one is HR will do this, welcoming to the organization, and then we will do the joining formalities. So on day one in any company, we should have some time earmarked to welcome these new joinees. In our company, either myself, Aditya or Shashank, one of us will make it a point, and most of the time also go for lunch with the new joinees on day one. This is very, very important. Right? Anyone whom they interact with on day one are actually the brand ambassadors for that company. Whomever they may remember or forget, the guys whom they would meet on day one would never be forgotten as long as they are in that company. You can take it from me. Whether they are from the same department or not, remember, doesn't matter. But they will never forget the guy who has, given that experience on day one. So when I define my HR policies, processes, anything, I actually put myself into their shoe and say, okay, if I'm the new joinee, what would I expect? When I walk into my new office, I would want, including the visiting cards to be available on my desk. Forget about the laptop. Right? I want to ensure that I do my best to give the same experience to everyone. And I guess none of you should even compromise. You should demand that and you should also provide that. That is my view. As line managers, you should demand that and you should also provide the same experience to your team members whoever is joining. Next one is about once the joining formalities is done, the necessary documentation and other things are done. Okay. The next step is to actually sensitize the person about the company. What we are as a company, what we have achieved, what was our journey so far, who are our founders, okay, who are our leadership team members, where do we specialize, what is our revenue, what is our forecast and so on. So that will give a very good, warm welcome message to the associate. He gets a confirmation that yes, I've joined the right company. Right? There is nothing wrong if you really acknowledge that last year it was much better, but this year our sales has actually gone down by 10%. I don't think there is anything negative about that. As long as you are able to substantiate and say that why it happens and what are the corrective measures you are actually taking to address that. Pull him into the challenge and say that boss, now we are hiring people like you who are supposed to take us back to plus 10% increase, but not 0 or even break even. Throw in the challenge on day one. Right? So, second thing is once you're done with this, the most important aspect which most of the people forget is about giving the right work location or introducing to the right team. I still remember in one of the companies where I have worked. It's a very big company. You will have to really search what is where in which in that company. The billing was so huge, right? Unless there is some guidance, you cannot make out where is the restroom also. It was so bad, right? So we were all in the room, and about lunchtime, I believe, someone bothered to find out hey, did you guys actually take your nature break or you had some coffee or tea? Do you know where is our canteen? I think it's too late in the game. Anyone comes in, unless these basic things are actually very much visible on the floor, we should actually take the time to take them around, show them the facility. Here is the water, here is the restroom, here is the so-and-so room, here is the conference room, and this is where you are going to be seated. This is where your department is. There will be a lot of such departments like yours, right sir? So it's a huge facility. Unless someone like sir actually guides us, we will not be able to make out anything. Right? The same thing happens, whether it's a big one or a small one, it is a basic courtesy. If you have a guest at home, what will you do? If he is coming for the first time, you have built a new house, right? Don't you think we would want to actually take them around and show them the house? The same thing we should do. Please treat them as your guests. That's when you will be able to give them the right comfort. I am also handling administration department in my company, and this is what I am going to tell them. Whomever you are working with, okay, whomever interacts with you, whomever you are putting them in the guest house, please ensure that you consider them as your personal guests at home. Right? When you start treating your employees as guests, trust me, you will never be able to give a bad experience. Right? So we have built a guest house here recently, only for the fact that I was not very happy with the other guest houses which we were maintaining earlier. So in 2018, I have removed a couple of small guest houses and consolidated all the guest houses into one. I taken a big facility and put everyone there. So people are coming, from different locations to Nagpur to work here on a temporary or a full-time basis. Unless you give that good experience, they would never want to come back and even look at Nagpur. Right? So what sort of experience you give them actually matters. Right? So the next one is anyone who joins us should know the basics. Right? What is your leave? What is your leave eligibilities? What are the different benefits, or what are the holidays that you have? What are the basic rules which will govern his or her employment as long as they are in the company? So there is a basic employee manual or handbook, otherwise called as, which should be offered to the associates. And it is also important that everyone signs off those handbook on day one. Right? It is also legally very important for you to safeguard your own interests, so that there will be a lot of things which will go in the handbook, and people will have to sign off on that. Next one is, now that you have given him the comfort, he is settling down, we also need to do a orientation session on the basics compensation structure. Okay, what are the different benefits available, right? How many leave or other benefits he or she can expect at that given level. What is the GMC policy of the TPA policy talk about, and so on. Just saying that, okay, you are eligible for 1.5 lakh of Medicare policy. Does that help? Give some basic insights and say that, okay, in case of emergency, okay, here are the contact details. This is the escalation matrix. You are not able to reach out to the insurance agent, please let me know. Internally, I am the first level escalation, probably my boss is the second level escalation. It should not be that, okay, we are just doing the duty for viewing that. Right? When the people come to the managers, once they are onboarded completely, and as the day progresses, associates actually go to their managers first. Insurance, okay, even the payslip errors, everything, people actually talk to the line managers. It's not directly the HR. Right, sir? Anyone got a loss of pay for any given day, he will not go and directly talk to the HR. He will first check with his manager. The same thing happens here. Equip your managers, and managers also should have all this information handy. Whether HR sends or they miss out, but still you should have that handy and then give it to the associate. Probably you're just forwarding a mail that a HR person would have drafted and given to you. But it actually talks about the interest you are showing in the well-being or the safety of a particular associate. Next one is definitely HR and the line managers should brief on the attendance and punctuality expected. So there could be companies which run in different shifts. So the respective line manager will have to sensitize what is the shift timing, how it progresses, what are the different facilities available during that odd hour shift. Right? So HR will ideally talk about the training opportunities. If there are any specific to your department, you should still sensitize, take some time. Park at least 1 hour as managers, park at least 1 hour with a new associate on day 1 or day 2 rather, and then tell them. In all honesty, everyone would agree in this room that whatever you tell on day 1, hardly 25% is recorded. whatever you say, only 25% max is recorded. For that 75% rest, provide as much of documentation as possible. Talk about medical policy, send out the insurance details. Talk about who is your insurance coordinator for your company or who is the escalation man, right? When you talk about someone is a fresher, he or she has to open a bank account as well, then please do the coordinations and then ensure that he or she is able to open the bank account before the salary date comes in. So induction can be done, we do for 2 days actually, induction program. Okay, with all the respective departments, including the particular project induction, but that will not still suffice. We keep sending out some tidbits, once in a while. Insurance, do you know whom to connect with? Send out a message. It could act as at least a refresher. If he still remembers, that's even wonderful. Even if he doesn't remember, at least you're still able to capture them. So, any discussion or any session on day 1 should be closed with a proper Q&A. Encourage people to ask questions. There could be, someone, probably there are 10 joiners on a given day, someone probably shies away from asking questions. So please encourage. If you find during the day that someone is not very comfortable asking questions, do a round robin or push the people that everyone should ask something. Right? But don't make it as a hard-pressed one. Any questions on induction? Then I move forward. Right. So next one is the performance management. So Suresh sir will say after this one, say that I usually conduct for days together and you are completing something in 10 minutes. So please bear with me, sir. Intention is only to sensitize people. Okay. Right. So performance management, it applies to us as individuals. Okay. It applies to us as managers as well. Right. We have a huge responsibility. So I could actually split that into 4 boxes: prerequisites, the performance planning, execution, and the review. What actually goes into each of this, right? For the prerequisites, the basic input for any performance management system rollout or an appraisal rollout is actually the strategic, the thought process or the organizational objectives for that particular year. So last year the revenue was say 30, and this year they would want to make 35 million. That is a strategic objective. From there actually cascades down all the aspects. So a sales guy will get a direct numbers, the production will get the numbers again in terms of how much of what item, how many batches, or by what time they will have to produce and so on. Marketing gets its numbers. Okay, HR department will be given saying that for this achieving this one, okay, I need at least 15% of additional staff members, right? So that becomes my hiring plan. So the account team is told that there is going to be a search. Obviously, you will have to apportion budgets for the payrolls and so on. So everything is actually connected, and everything will actually start coming directly from the strategic planning of the organization. So for any successful performance management system, the first and the foremost important thing is the strategic planning. In case your organization or you are not actually doing the strategic planning, it's as good as you are doing or running this on an ad hoc basis. You might have a target of say 30. This year we will have reached 35 million. Okay, but at the end of the day, during the year, you realize that the potential has increased. Okay, the currency rates have either fluctuated and so on. But if you want to still take corrective measures, you are still supposed to take that. Just because you set a target at the beginning of the year, it's not necessary that you will have to try the same thing all through the year. But you need to take into consideration the ecosystem that you have, what are the practical challenges that might come across, and what you can actually surface and work out. Right. So when it comes to the performance planning, right? So now you have your strategic thought process. For example, say a revenue moving from 30 to 35 million in this year. Right. You will have to cascade that to different departments, and different departments to the managers, and to the managers to the team members. Right. So there is a simple principle called as SMART, SMART. Okay. Just for comfort, I'm using it as SMART so that people can relate that better. Otherwise, it's referred as SMART. So it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. Have this checklist of 5 points for every objective that you are setting for yourself or your team members. You will not have any challenges. I repeat this. Everything has to be specific. You cannot have, something saying like, you will have to fly by the end of this year. Doesn't make any sense. It has to be measurable, right? Anything which is not measured, cannot be counted. It has to be attainable. Can you really attain that? Okay. The next one is like, realistic. Is that realistic in nature? Last but not the least is time bound. So every activity that you sign up for should have a start and an end date. They might fluctuate, that's okay, as long as there is a proper reason for that one, but it has to be time bound very clearly. Anything which spans for across, there is, I work for a product company as well. So if you look at the software product companies which are especially building huge RDBMS, each delivery might go actually for years together. After 2 years or 3 years, I might actually get a version. Right? In that 3 years, I cannot do one appraisal after 3 years. Because every year I will have to assess and I will have to give the promotions, increments and whatnot. Right? So what we used to do is, we used to cut it down to the module wise. So if this version has to be, released by so and so time, by say 2021, what is the target that you need to do it in 2020 or by 19 and by 18? You will have to split that. Right? So there could also be activities which could be achieved, multiple times within a year. So you will have to add 2 or 3 such things based on the time. I know this is theory and high level, but please ask me questions if you are not following this. Next one is the performance execution. At the end of the day, setting the objectives is employee's responsibility. I repeat this, at the end of the day, setting the objectives is employee responsibility, not employer or not HR responsibility. If you want to grow in a company, you are expecting a promotion or an increment, that is something you have to do. And it is your responsibility as an employee. Managers and HR are here only to facilitate. Right? You will have to worry about it at the end of the day. So together, manager is always there to support. As line managers, you will have to support, ensure that the team members are able to deliver what is expected from them. Right? At the end of the year, okay. So you have given certain objectives at the beginning of the year. There were a lot of things which the person would have done during the year, and towards the end of the year, you need to take a log of it. How did the person actually perform in the last 12 months is something you need to look at. Right? And that comes from the performance review, which is also called as the performance review process or appraisal process, evaluation process. You would have multiple names, but everything encompassed will come to the same ground here. In this part, you will have to play a very objective role here. You should not get carried away with the recency effect. We call it as the recency effect in HR. Means something which could have happened in the last 2 months, which is bad or which is good, should not actually influence the entire 12 months of your performance. And unless you actually record the performance at regular intervals, wherever there are achievements or wherever there are results or wherever there are accomplishments done as per the carriers, this recency effect will actually influence your appraisal or your growth in the company. So line managers in particular should ensure that they are not getting carried away with that recency effect. You are able to do a very objective discussion. If required, ask your people, to give, in most of the companies, what happens is where there is no mature performance management system, the most easiest or thumb rule that you can apply is set monthly targets and then let the people actually give it that. So there is a yearly target overall. If I have to relate that to the recruitment, for example, say 36 positions have to be closed by an employee. So if I put it as every month, 3 hirings must happen in every month. Right? So that is something you can actually evaluate the person. At the end of every month, you sit with that guy for 5 minutes and say, okay, where do you stand today? Just record that. All of them cumulative will become the annual performance. If you do not have time, you are very hard pressed, go for a quarterly one. If you are still hard pressed, go for a half yearly one. But ensure that you are actually talking to your team members. If you go back at the end of the year and say that, I have given the 36 requirements, I have not even closed 18. He will give you a list of all the excuses that you could think about from childhood. right? So you should be prepared to listen to all that music, or you give back the music to that guy. Eventually there is a lot of rupture and one of us will leave. That's not going to help anyone. You may leave or ignore the associate, but my question to line managers is your boss going to leave you if you have not met your targets? I guess no, at least my boss doesn't feel it. Right? So you need to ensure that, okay, you are actually taking a log. All the team members who are working with you, doing their diligence, doing their 100%, and you are able to realize that full potential is lost. Whether your boss asks or not, whether the director is in complete control with you or not, doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, everyone have to save our back. That's a corporate funda, right? So as a team member, I have to save my back. As a manager, I have to save my back. Okay. And if I'm working with my boss, obviously the directors, you can understand the pressure. So based on your role, based on your level, you need to know how to actually work. Right. So just moving forward, just a quick time check. So we are at 7:10, sir. How many more minutes I have?
We're another 10-15 minutes.
Okay, sure.
One question.
Yes.
So contractors, do the IT organizations actually give a performance feedback to the contractors, or do they actually take them seriously and do this whole process to the contractors as well?
Yes.
They do.
So you're asking whether the contractors are given the feedback?
A feedback or a proper performance.
Yes. So it actually depends on what sort of a contract you get into. If you are working for say 3 to 6 months of a contract with a defined timeline, which would fall within 1 year, then I don't think many managers would be really inclined. But yes, there will be an SOW which is signed. Okay, you would know as a contractor, okay, what you should be doing at the beginning of the segment, and you should give your updates to the manager. Right? If you are the contractor yourself, you should honestly set up a meeting invite with your manager and then say that, okay, yeah, I might be a contractor, but I would like to know how I'm performing. And I'm sure if that manager has basic empathy, I'm sure that he would never say no. Managers, are at the end of the day, suppose if you're in a very niche area, managers will do it proactively. Right? If you're not in a very niche area, okay? It also depends on the managers. So he knows that if I don't give the right experience to you, okay, next time you will not come, even if I have a 1-year contract. Right? So as long as you are doing your 100% perfect job, you have every right to ask for it. Because at the beginning of the assignment, you have the SOW which you have signed, which should detail the entire statement of work, which is what are the activities you are supposed to do. Right? There is nothing wrong in asking for a feedback, but rather proactively make it this way. You have your SOW, okay, on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, okay, you write or give an update against those SOW points and then send it officially to your manager and request for feedback. Right. Yeah.
Usually there is a practice that people are hired by somebody else who looks after the HR function and they work in the parent company,
Yeah.
principal employer.
Yeah.
So what about their feedback? I mean, how their final employment, what would be say payroll will depend, and how that feedback will be?
Sure. If you're talking about a staff augmentation engagement where this agency is, yeah, they completely outsourced.
Yeah.
They are no way in control of any of the deliverables. It's only it's called body shopping typically in the layman language, right? So what happens is the primary funda on which this entire business will work is based on the inputs from the client. As long as the client gives a very good feedback, okay, these guys will record it as very good. If there is anything which happens on the other side, okay, even at the client's side, the manager has changed in the last minute and so on, right? So the new manager might not be able to actually give the right feedback. So what you should do proactively is you should ask the manager who is actually moving out of the project or out of that company to give some feedback for you, and which should be marked a copy to your company as well. Right? So because at the end of the day, after that guy leaves, there is no one else who is going to talk. Right? Or nobody is going to acknowledge whatever performance you have actually performed. In a lot of companies, what happens is we also do staff augmentation to the project, but it comes in the funda that okay, our guys will work at the client location, but there is one manager who is responsible from my side as well. Right? slowly you should encourage your management to start looking at something like that. Probably like, you know, a quarterly connect or a monthly connect, wherein like you can actually share your performance. Okay, usually all these companies have a customer feedback form, which they usually send it to the clients and ask for the feedback. So you can do it proactively yourself, okay, and you can get an appreciation note from from your client, or more than an appreciation note, probably like, you know, again the SOWs whether you have, you know, delivered or not. If he or she can acknowledge that, that's even better.
What should be the duration of the manager? I mean, if he has moved out, of the project of the company,